Welcome everyone. In today's lesson video, our topic is indices, laws of indices. Before I go into the laws proper, I want to draw attention to one or two things you need to know about indices. Now, in mathematics, any number written without a visible index, because indices is a plural of index. Any number written without a visible index, the index is assumed to be 1. For example, if I write 2 without any index, is the same thing as writing 2 raised to power 1. So any number without a visible index, the index is 1. The plural of index is what we mean by indices. In mathematics, we also refer to an index as power. So you can say 2 raised to power 1. If you don't want to use the word index, you can say 2 raised to power 1. Now, there is no exam that they will ask you to list the laws of indices. Or a question is given and you are asked, which particular law will you use to solve the question? All you need to know about this topic is how to apply the laws. Memorizing the laws may not help. What matters is, do you know how to use the laws to solve questions? So that any question given to you, you will know the laws. You can apply more than one in a particular question. Now, on the board, I have 8 questions we're going to use to illustrate the laws of indices. Number 1 says 2 raised to power 5 times 2 raised to power 3. Now, I want you to also know that 2 raised to power 2 is the same thing as writing 2 times 2. 3 raised to power 2 is the same thing as writing 3 times 3. So 3 raised to power 2 does not mean 3 times 2. It's 3 times 3. The number being multiplying itself to the power. So 3 raised to power 4 means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That is 3 into 4 places. You must have this at the back of your mind in order to do well in indices. Now, the first question, 2 raised to power 5 times 2 raised to power 3. Now, with this in mind, you can use this directly, and you have something like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 into 5 places. Then times 2 into 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Then at the end, you count all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 raised to power 8. Well, this is correct. But this, you can see, it took us some time. The multiplication law tells us that instead of doing it this way, which might be lengthy, you can shorten it like this. 2 raised to power 5 times 2 raised to power 3. As long as the numbers are the same, 2 and 2, the numbers multiplying themselves are the same. Multiplication law says add their powers. So it becomes 2 raised to power 5 plus 3, and that will give you 2 raised to power 8. So the multiplication law says instead of multiplying the numbers out in this format, why not shorten it this way? You will still arrive at the correct answer. So this is what we call multiplication law. Now, the second one says 2 raised to power 8 divided by 2 raised to power 4. With this knowledge in mind, you can solve this question like this. 2 times 2 times 2, that is 2 into 8 places. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Divided by 2, 2, 2, and 2. So 2 into 8 places divided by 2 into 4 places. That is what this thing is all about. Now, you divide. This will cancel this, this will cancel this, this will cancel this, this will cancel this. So at the end, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 2 raised to the power 4 as your answer. Now, there is a law called division law. Division law is saying that, though this is correct, very correct, you can shorten the process this way. Instead of doing this, you will now say 2 raised to power 8 divided by 2 raised to power 4. The division law is saying that provided the numbers that are dividing, the two numbers are the same, they are equal, then just subtract their powers. As long as the two numbers are the same, subtract their powers. So this will now give us 2 raised to power 8 minus 4. And that will give you 2 raised to power 4. So you see, this shortens this whole process. Shortens it. Why this one shortens this. But whichever one you use is still okay. If this is what you could remember in the exam, please do it. But the division law is saying handle it this way. Is shorter and more efficient. The third one says 2 raised to power 2 brackets open and closes, and then raised to power 3. That is 2 raised to power 2 raised to power 3. What this one means is you can handle what is in the bracket first. It says 2 raised to power 2 means 2 times 2. And this means this bracket into 3 places. And at the end, by the time you count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you arrive at this as your answer. Now, the power law is telling you that instead of doing it this way, why not shorten it like this? That 2 raised to power 2 or raised to power 3 is simply means multiplying the two powers. The one outside multiplying the one inside. And that will give you 2 raised to power 6. You see, you still get the same answer. So this is the power law telling you that multiplying the two powers will give you the same answer. Now, the next question says 4a raised to power 2 or raised to power 3. Then what do? The product power law tells us that when you are given something like this, what you need to do is simply share the powers that is outside to what is in the bracket. So is this, that's what it means. And the next line will be 4 raised to power 3 is 64 times a will give you a raised to power 2 times 3 will give you 6. So this gives the answer. So the product power law says when there are two numbers that are multiplying themselves in a bracket and there is a power outside the bracket, share the powers to each and every one of those numbers that are multiplying themselves. That's what this is talking about. Now, the next one, 2 raised to power 0. In indices, any number that is raised to the power 0 is equal to 1. We call it the zero index law. Zero index law. As long as the power is 0, don't worry yourself, just write 1. So this gives us 1. So any number, whether it is 100 raised to power 0, even letters a raised to power 0, just bring it down to 1. Now, the next question says 2 raised to power minus 2. This we refer to as negative index. This is a negative index. And when you have a negative index, the interpretation it gives is a reciprocal. This is the interpretation of a negative index. It gives the reciprocal of that number. So 1 over 2 raised to power 2, which will eventually give you 1 over 4. Now, the next one has a fractional index. A fractional index. Now, look at this and this. They are almost the same thing. This one has a fractional index, this one has a fractional index. But the numerator of this fraction is 1, while the numerator of this one is not 1, 2, or any other number. That's where the difference is. So when the numerator is 1, the interpretation is the root of the denominator. So here in this case is 3. So the cube root of the denominator of the number, the cube root of the number, that is the interpretation. And that gives you 5. It gives you 5. That is, cube root of any number is getting a whole number that can multiply itself 3 times to give you the number in question. So it's only 5 that can multiply itself 3 times to give you 125. Now, the last one says 125 raised to power 2 over 3. Now, I said, as long as the numerator is 1, this is what you do. But if the numerator is not 1, this is how you interpret it. The denominator will still come out as a root, but that numerator will now be seen as a power. It will be interpreted as a power. So you see the difference when the fractional index is 1 and when the fractional index is not 1. So once it's not 1, it comes out as power, while the denominator forms a root. And continuing, this will give us this, and finally it lands us to 25. In summary, number 1, we have the multiplication law, we have the division law. Multiplication law and division law, they are related in the sense that before you can apply them, you must make sure that the two numbers that are involved in the multiplication or in the division are the same. They must be the same before you can apply either multiplication law or division law. And in each case, for multiplication law, add the powers. For division law, subtract the powers. For this and this, the power law and product power law, they are related in the sense that whatever power that is outside the bracket is used or shared to whatever that is in the bracket. You share it and multiply out. In this case, we had only 2 raised to power 2 inside. So we multiply the 2 powers. In this one, we have 4a. We share the powers to both 4 and a squared for us to have our answer. Then when the index is 0, this is the easiest. Just write 1 as your answer. Then when the index is negative, it makes the reciprocal of that number. And that is what we'll have on the board. Then when the index is a fraction, fractional index, check whether that fraction, whether the numerator of the fraction is 1. If it's 1, don't worry, use the denominator only. But if the numerator of that fractional index is not 1, then it will come out as par, while the denominator of that fraction will form a root. The next video on these indices will take care of some of the applications, questions where you can apply laws of indices and get the answers sorted out. See you then.